Andrew's... You've never been to Vancouver?
No.
There's a nice train that goes from Seattle up to Vancouver.
Really?
Yeah. It goes like straight from downtown Seattle to downtown Vancouver.
Yep.
Next party, I will go.
Yeah. Please, you're definitely welcome. I will make sure to send you a thing.
Yes.
I'm not doing New Year's this year, but I will be doing it next year. I do it every 2 years because it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Your New Year's party's great.
It's fun.
All your parties are great.
That's also true.
Thank you.
Well, while we're waiting for Jacob to pee, why not talk a little bit about one of my favorite cities?
Whoa.
What? I saw...
Is there a goose in the bathroom?
There's a goose on the loose. It was behind the overlay, I swear.
But we put up a sign!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
Maybe the overlay
there
needs a
can't be any
sign.
geese here. No gooses.
Anyways, you were saying.
I was going to say... That horrible goose.
Cannot believe that goose.
I was going to say, let's talk about one of my favorite cities, Vancouver, and things to do in Vancouver, because occasionally people do ask me, they're like, hey, if I'm going to be in Vancouver, what are some things to do? And in fact, one of our volunteers that's here right now, Alistair, is from Australia, and he was like, if I'm going to do tourism in Vancouver, what do you recommend? And so here's my hot tips for seeing Vancouver. One, go to the Museum of Anthropology at UBC.
Oh, heck yeah.
It is beautiful, like scenery-wise, because you're at the UBC grounds and there's like trees and the ocean and stuff. It's beautiful, like architecture-wise, because it's just a really nice building. But most importantly, you get to see a bunch of amazing First Nations artifacts and artwork, and other cultures as well. But the First Nation stuff is what you probably want to go to see. They have totem poles and masks and all sorts of interpretive signage and stuff like that, so you can learn about the history of the people that were here first before we came and largely ruined it. But you know,
Is that primarily people local to, like, the indigenous people of Vancouver?
yeah, and of British Columbia, and so like they have there's a lot of indigenous groups and stuff like that all over BC. It's not like a monoculture, so they have bits from all over the place. I'm not doing a great job selling it, but it's great, and I really recommend it.
That sounds amazing.
Let's see. Oh, there's nobody else from Vancouver now. I started this bit and then Andrew left.
Sun Yat-sen Scholars Garden
Oh, so
is
good!
amazing. They have a section that is open to the public, and then they also have a private tour section. I did the tour when my parents came to visit me back when I was living in Vancouver, and it was like cold and rainy and absolutely worth it. Like, you would think, oh, it's not going to be that fun. You're just going to walk around this tiny little walled-in space. It's really cool. You get to see, like, how they use materials to create isolation in the middle of a city. And I don't know, it was beautiful and a really fun time.
It's really nice, and very famously, you might have heard about this. A horrible otter got into the Sun Yat-sen garden and ate a bunch of their koi.
Oh no!
Oh no!
It was like a thing. They were trying to trap that otter for weeks. There was only like 3 koi left at the end of it.
Well, I like otters.
Yeah.
They ought not have done that.
Oh.
He's
So.
just doing what his instinct said.
Have you been to Cafe?
No, I have not. Please tell us about Cat Faye.
All I know is it is a cat cafe. And I was actually coming out here to ask if you have been, because if you have, what is your review of it? And you haven't, so Andrew?
Which cat cafe?
Cafe. I only thought there was one, but if there are
There's
multiple...
2.
Oh, have you been?
Yeah, I'm just turning my mic on there. There are 2 cat cafes in Vancouver. There's Cat Faye in the International Village Tinseltown Mall. That one right there. Thank you, Askew.
It's very close to
It's on the 2nd floor. It's a beautiful space. That one I've been to a couple of times. It's quite nice. It's quite large, like it's very, very spacious, as you can see there.
I think that used to be the pet shop in Tinseltown.
Yep, it was.
Yeah.
Then the cats took over.
And then the other one is Catoro Cafe, which is the sort of cat forest, vaguely My Neighbor Totoro themed cat cafe, which is a little... It is a cat cafe and a bubble tea place together. That one's over on Broadway, kind of around Fraser-ish.
Oh, wow.
That is not what it looks like.
No?
That's a different one. But that's okay.
That's
Forget
still
parties. Can I come stay at yours and just like go to cat cafes?
But yeah, that one there that Asko is doing is the Katoro Cafe. That one right there.
Oh my goodness.
So I was just there a couple of weeks ago for a team building event with my team at the office. Because one of the folks on my team had suggested it jokingly as like sort of a team building exercise, like, oh, let's go do that as a team outing. And they were like, that's not a real, nobody ever does that. That we can't actually do that. And I just sort of like quietly DM'd my boss and was like, can I actually do that? And he was like, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
That's what happens with the editing department
Yeah.
at LRR all the
So-
time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have been to both of them and I had really positive experiences at both of them. So yeah, they're both great. I would recommend going to either one.
Now, which cats should we ask for?
I think they
Ooh.
get adopted.
They get
So
There's a changeover.
They get adopted fairly quickly, but if Blueberry is still at Katoro
my
Cafe,
God.
Blueberry is a sweet little gray cat that loves to be pet and only has one eye. Longer hair gray cat and is just very cuddly.
I want Blueberry now.
Yeah.
You should go get Blueberry.
So
I want all the cats.
I can't go to those places only because I would probably adopt all of them. Like, I
Yeah.
want to go to a cat cafe, but I have to
yeah,
keep myself.
You have to be. Know
Thanks,
your
Matt.
limit. Stay
Yeah.
within it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have 3 cats and 3 dogs.
yeah,
I'm at my limit. I have
Yeah.
2 Shiba Inus and a Kaiken, which is another Japanese dog,
yep.
and 3 cats. So,
And you live in Seattle.
and I live in Seattle.
Uh,
I have a
and
house
yeah, I
in the
believe
yard.
that
I was
is
gonna say,
Blueberry.
You
Yeah.
not in Seattle?
Yeah, no, it's
You
like
don't
outside
rent?
of Seattle.
Yeah.
I live Seattle adjacent.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
called We Say We Live in Seattle, and then somebody says, oh, I know Seattle, and then you go, okay, well, I actually live here,
Yeah.
not Seattle, but I say Seattle.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
Right.
You say Seattle so people will actually know where you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Exactly.
Just like where I grew up when I was born.
Is this just stuff to do in Vancouver?
Yeah, stuff to do in Vancouver.
Did
Yeah,
you
but-
cover the Bloedel Conservatory?
No, I haven't. What a great final hot tip.
Yeah,
So, why is the Bloedel Conservatory beautiful and
because
great?
it's full of cool birds. It's full of cool birds and plants, and there's 2 sloths in there, is what I want to say. It's in the middle of Queen Elizabeth Park. It's that big sort of dome-looking thing. But it's a bird sanctuary, and they also have some other animals in there. Like there's some frogs and turtles, and
When
if
horrible
I'm
days.
recalling correctly, there's a couple of sloths, but I can't remember if that's 100% for sure, or if I'm confusing that with the sloths at the aquarium. There are 2 sloths at one of these things.
There is a sloth at the aquarium because I just
Okay.
went to the aquarium
Maybe
like
that's
last
what
year.
I'm thinking of then.
Sloths are
Because
not
the
aquatic.
aquarium has like just sort of like a rainforest
Semi.
component as
Oh,
well
got it. Okay.
for non-aquatic animals.
Right. Makes sense.
And I love sloths
I do too.
almost as much as Kristen Bell does.
You know they swim
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They while they're looking for a mate,
Yeah.
the male will like climb down and swim to where they think a girl is.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a bold move. If you
Yes.
move that slowly to get into the
Yeah.
water.
And it's
Yeah.
weird to watch them swim too, because they move a little bit quicker, obviously, to
Yeah.
stay above water. But it's just weird.
Yep.
Oh,
They sloth paddle.
love conquers all, I guess.
Instinct. There it is.
Oh, there's a gif of a sloth swimming in
That's
water.
surprisingly quick.
Yeah, I've never seen a sloth move that.
Well, I suppose they're just they could just like go on their back and like starfish float.
Yeah.
That's how I imagined they'd do it.
That's how I swim.
Big wingspan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.